Now, if there's one thing that can absolutely make or break your creative projects, it's pre-production. Now, I know it's not the flashiest part, but trust me, it is by far the most important. Pre-production can seem pretty complicated, but in this video, I'm going to simplify the process by showing you a step-by-step guide that you can follow for your own projects. And to top it off, I'm going to share the exact template that I use and make it available for you completely for free. The template is available through Milanote, who are the sponsor of today's video, but don't worry, it's completely for free, and you can also sign up and start using Milanote for free using the link down below. All right, let's get into it. So this here is my Milanote template and my landing page or home screen for every project. And the one we're looking at here is for a social spot I'm currently working on for a local organization. And from here, I can find all the information I need for the project bundled and organized together. So I don't have to look for certain documents or lists or anything like that. And by the way, everything I'm about to show you, you could also do in Word documents, Excel sheets, or even a physical notebook. But honestly, I've been using Milanote for a few years now, and I really think it's the best tool for organizing your creative projects. What I love about it, and I haven't found anything else like it so far, is just how visual it is. You can lay out your whole pre-production plan in one place. So it's super organized and super easy. Alright, so the first section of my pre-production plan is a project description. And this is just a short description of the project. So for a short film, it would be like a small synopsis of the film, like the general idea. And for a commercial project like this one, it would be important notes from the client brief. And here's also where I would add any files that are related to the project. And it's really easy to do that in Milanote. You just drag and drop the file in there. So this could be a director's treatment, the full creative brief, and things like that. And that way I can always easily find it if I need it, but also if I need to share this with other people in the crew, they can have easy access to that file. Now, one thing I typically do when starting a new project is look for inspiration to get the creative juices flowing. So there are a few ways I do this. One is going to YouTube and simply searching for the topic that I'm currently working on. If I find anything that truly inspires me, I add that to my inspiration board. For commercial projects or short films, I like to head over to Frameset, which is my go-to platform for stills for movies and commercials. Here I would either search for specific topics, certain movies or cinematographers, or simply just browse and look for inspiration that way. And you can see Frameset also has GIFs, so little moving images, which sometimes add a bit more visual information compared to a still frame. Once I've got all my reference GIFs and stills downloaded, all I have to do is drag them into my Milanote inspiration board, and Milanote will automatically organize them. I can always add more stills later, change the size, drag them, and organize them however I like. Now, another cool thing on Frameset, what I want to show you is that if you click on the title of the project right here, you'll see on the left here it says Watch. And that will take you to either the Vimeo page or a streaming platform where you can watch the entire movie or the commercial film. So it's great to have that for even more inspiration for certain shots. By the end of this process, I usually end up with something that looks like this. So a nicely organized visual reference board that I can also go back throughout the project. But even after a certain project is done, it's great to have these inspirational boards to refer back to whenever I need inspiration for other projects. And depending on the project, I would then filter down this inspiration board and turn that into a mood board. This is then a more defined set of visuals that will determine the final look of the film. So for this project, I have a few stills here that represent part of the film where things have a more moody and cold look. And when we get to the resolution of the film, the tones will become more warm and inviting to create a nice visual contrast. So back on the main board, I also have a section for any type of music or sound design that I think would fit the project or that I find inspiring. Now, I don't always use this, but for some projects, there are certain soundtracks that are important for the final film. For example, for my latest short film, Marty, I heard the song Aline from Christophe, and right away I knew I wanted something similar for the end credits of that film. So I added the track with a YouTube link, and later I added a few free options from various platforms. You can just drag and drop the MP3 or WAV files into Milanote, and you can then even play back those tracks in the app, which is pretty cool. And next I have a pre-production section where I have a list of general things that I need to do or need to get done or organized before the actual shoot days. And these lists in Milanote are really great because I can easily add things to them and tick off what is done. Below this general to-do list, I've got a list for all the gear we need for the shoot, and I've got this set up in a separate board so that I can organize it with camera gear, lights, and extras. In the pre-production phase, I'll tick off the gear that we have, and if there are things that we still need to loan or rent, I'll leave those unticked so that I know that those still need to get sorted. Then when shoot day comes, I can come back to this list and use it as a packing list, so I make sure not to forget anything. Underneath the gear list, I've got a list for the crew, and this is basically to have an overview of all the positions we need on set and whether or not we have these people locked in. So again, I can just easily tick them off if anyone is organized. For the talent list, I added another board because here I like to have a bit more information for each person. Things like a headshot, contact details, availability, and so on. And I like to use these colors to mark the status of each talent. If they are booked, green; if the request is pending, orange; and if they haven't been contacted yet, I'll mark them red. Again, it's super easy to share this Milanote project with other people, like for example the producer, and they can then add certain people or tick off things that they've organized or booked. So it's really nice to keep an overview of all the things that come with pre-production, and I can highly recommend listing things if you are a forgetful person like me. All right, moving on to locations. Here I have a board with all the possible locations organized per scene. And there are a few reference photos of the location as well as a Google Maps link. And it's really easy to do this in Milanote. You just copy and paste the link from Google and Milanote will integrate that automatically. I also added a few notes such as when is the best time of day to shoot there or other additional information. Also here I'm using colors to mark the status of each location, which helps with getting a quick overview of what needs to be done. And next up on the main plan we have our shot list. So using the script, or in this case the director's treatment, I'll create a shot list for every scene. I will title each shot with the location, followed by a reference image, or in some cases a shot from the location scout. If I have images from the location scout, I'll add another board where I keep all my reference stills for this specific shot. That way the shot list doesn't become too cluttered, but I still have access to all my references for composition, lighting, and things like that. Then I've got a description of what is happening in the shot, and below that is how I'm actually planning to shoot it. So in this example here, it's going to be a one shot starting with a close-up of the character, and then we dolly out, the character turns on the TV, pours milk, and sips from the spoon. And in some cases where I know for sure which focal length I want to use, I'll add that information here as well. And this is handy to plan shots on set and avoids unnecessary lens swaps. Next, I have a note about how the lighting should be, and lastly, any specific equipment needed for the shot. So in this case, for example, a Dana dolly. All right, the final section of my pre-production plan is the call sheet. And this is going to be super important to have before any production. It makes sure that everyone involved, so the crew, the talent, the client, has all the most important information. Everything from time schedules, location, contact details, and so on. And what's great is that Milanote also allows you to export these boards to PDF, so you can send out a clean, professional looking call sheet to everyone involved. All right, so I promise you that doing your pre-production like this step by step makes everything run way smoother on set. Plus it helps you avoid those unexpected headaches while on production. And honestly, it makes you feel more confident as a filmmaker. You're more prepared, less stressed, and you can actually enjoy the process. Milanote is available for free without any time limit, so if you are interested, sign up with the link in the video description. And you'll also find a link to this specific pre-production template, which you can use completely for free. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.